Welcome back, everybody, to Orange Hat. Excuse me one moment. I just forgot that I forgot my phone for the talking points. And I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. Yes, I have to get my phone for the talking points for this. So, Rocky 4. Actually, before I get started, if you want to support my channel, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know or share out the stream on your social media, wherever you may be sharing it. I am exclusively on YouTube right now because I want to get the hours on YouTube so I can get to 4,000. I'm also trying to get to 1,500 subs before the year is out. And we are 12 days away from that, so any help can be appreciated. I need 28 subs to go. Also, make sure if you like my channel that you are subbed to my channel, and it is much appreciated. Neozoic, good to see you. Darth Zathra, good to see you. So, Rocky 4. This is actually debated to be a Christmas movie. Both versions. There's the theatrical that everybody knows and loves, and then there is the Stallone cut, which in some ways is the same movie, but in many ways slightly different because he cuts it in a way that makes it more or less more edgy in some ways, less edgy in others. So the main arguments for this movie being a Christmas movie is that the main fight takes place on December 25th, the fight against the Russian between Rocky and Ivan Drago. Also, that creepy robot that Paulie has, it's dressed up as Santa Claus, and the kid or Rocky's son is watching the fight at his home during Christmas and whatnot with his friends. So there's the argument to be made that this is a Christmas movie. Also, it does have Christmas music in the theatrical edition, where Paulie is watching or listening to the Chipmunks singing Christmas Don't Be Late. So, yes, there is an argument to be made for this movie or for this to be a Christmas movie. However, there is also an argument to be made that this is not a Christmas movie, in which the theatrical edition sure does have a small Christmas element in it. The Stallone cut, the director's cut, however, does not. You see, Stallone cut the movie in a way that, hey, Vanya, it's okay that you light up. Stallone cut the movie in a way that had the Chipmunks Christmas Don't Be Late song cut out and instead used or went for more of a score instead of a song. You also do not see the robot in the Stallone cut. I'm guessing he wanted to cut that sucker out real quick. Which Stallone role is best, Rocky Balboa or John Rambo? Both, or that's apples to oranges, really, Neozoic. Because when you really look at John Rambo and Rocky Balboa, I mean, both are all American, don't get me wrong, but one is ultra violent, not willing to, or is very willing to kill, and he's very grit. He's very fed up with life and whatnot. Where you have Rocky Balboa, who is a person that is extremely stubborn, wants to better himself, and he still has much to live for. But honestly, it depends, or to compare the two, Um, it really depends on what kind of person you are. Are you a Rocky or are you a Rambo? But getting back to it, the arguments against is that I would say that the just because the movie has its final fight taking place on Christmas does not necessarily mean that it is a Christmas movie. For a Christmas movie like Die Hard or Lethal Weapon, you need to have Christmas throughout the film or a lead up to Christmas with Christmas themes like affirmations of Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or something like that. Something that gives you an idea of more than just a fight taking place on Christmas and the robot being dressed as Santa. And Christmas Don't Be Late being played in Russia. So, yes and no. This movie is a Christmas movie, but the director's cut, the Stallone cut, is definitely not a Christmas movie. They cut the robot out. They cut the scenes where his son is watching him to basically be more leveled on the fight between him and the Russian. And also, one of the things I do like about the Stallone cut is how he didn't make them. He didn't make the fights, or when Stallone was cutting it, he actually made the fight more less one-sided and more two-sided. Because if you watch the films, or if you watch these films side to side and watch the fight between Apollo and the Russian and Rocky and the Russian, in the theatrical edition, these fights are one-sided until Rocky in his fight gets the upper hand. Where in the fight in Las Vegas with Apollo and the Russian, he still manages to fight back against the Russian even when he's getting his ass beat to a bloody pulp. They cut this film in a way that makes it less one-sided. And I do like how they still keep most of the story intact with the Stallone cut. However, there are a couple of things that I thought were pretty good additions, plus different angles for the cinematography. In one way, you can argue that the Stallone cut is lesser than the theatrical, but in another way, you can actually argue that it is better because you have much higher quality. You have 4K quality, like serious 4K quality with that movie. Also, you can see, or it's less grainy, but also the Stallone cut offers a much greater cinematography experience because he's using alternate angles and whatnot as he's doing the fight, where it's more around the ring, which I thought was very good as well. And that is something that is actually pretty good. But getting back to is it a Christmas movie? Definitely not a Christmas movie, Stallone cut wise. Neozoic, how would I compare Burt Young, Rip Pauly, with his other roles such as Chinatown, Once Upon a Time in America, Uncle Joe, Shannon, Back to School? I will always know Burt Young as Pauly. I honestly cannot say that I have seen other roles in which he has portrayed other people. I can't really say that I am a diehard fan of Burt Young. However, his role as Pauly throughout the entirety of the Rocky franchise has always been a great role because his character went from a freaking bum to somebody who was basically Rocky's anchor his anchor to the ground. He kept Rocky humble, so to speak. Rocky could have easily given in to all the fame, and for a time he did. He got into all of it. But Paulie had a way of bringing him back to reality. And that is actually something that was very good that Burt Young did, especially in the last movie, Rocky Balboa, where he's like, Rocky, you're living backwards, man. Change the channel from yesterday. Yesterday it wasn't all that good. And he's like, it was to me, but not for me. You had the good times, I had the bad times. But he also, when he's talking with him later on, he's like, so Burt Young's asking, he's like, you're mad because they took away your statue? No, I ain't mad about that. I mean, there's just some stuff left in the basement. What basement? In here, in the gut. There's stuff to get out. And he's like, Rocky, this is dangerous territory. But he also tells him that he's like, or in his own way, he shows that he truly does care for Rocky. And I love how Burt Young, I'm going on a Burt Young thing here, folks, for a minute, folks. When Burt Young gets fired, when Paulie gets fired from the meatpacking plant, he goes off on Rocky in such a hilarious way. Because little Marie is the hostess for the restaurant now. And she's like, deliveries are in the back. I'm not a delivery guy. Well, do you have a reservation? Do I look like a freaking Indian? Do I look like a freaking Indian? And so he's like, oh, he's just a relation. That's okay. Yo, Paulie, what happened to your eye? I hit it. Why? Needed to. What happened? I'm celebrating, Rocky. I retired. You retired, huh? So when do they start giving out meat instead of watches, Paulie? I don't need a watch. And that's when Paulie really busts out his attitude. I already got a watch. You gave me a watch. In the middle of the restaurant. That's the wonderful thing about Paulie. I'm more of a Paulie. Because Paulie wasn't afraid to say what needed to be said. And yes, he also has that explosive personality where he's not afraid to say what needs to be said and not afraid to say it in sensitive company. So, sorry, felt like I had something in my mouth. I shouldn't have been there. Yeah, go ahead, clip that, jeez. But yeah, Burt Young, he's always going to be Paulie to me, man. And in this movie, where in the theatrical, it's Paulie's birthday and they give him a freaking robot, and then he changes the robot's voice to a female, which is freaking insane. But they get rid of the robot in the Stallone cut, so thank God for that, Which Rocky film, 1, 2, 3, and 4, was best for Carl Weathers' Apollo Creed, both performance and character? Honestly, Rocky 2 and 3 is the best for Carl Weathers because it showed a champion who was challenged and how he had to handle it. And then it showed, now that he's no longer fighting, how best can he help his friend? I mean, these movies, or Carl Weathers is a great actor. May not agree with some of the stuff he says on Twitter and whatnot. However, or he's mostly he's mostly the B-piece kind of guy, where he is less political. So I agree with the less political aspect of him. However, he does have more left-leaning tendencies, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. But Carl Weathers as an actor, He's one of the top-notch ones, man. I love Carl Weathers as an actor. I like him in The Mandalorian as Grief Karga. That does not necessarily mean I count The Mandalorian as Star Wars, though. I think that he did a good job in his character, in his acting. And they have turned him into a meme with the with the holographic things. He's like, I need these 3 brought in dead, no questions asked. It's personal. And it's the Russian, the Predator, and the crocodile from Happy Gilmore. Oh my God, man. That was such a good meme too. And Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed 2 and 3 was his best job, because you see him in Rocky 1, he is the champion. He is the heavyweight champion. He's still riding on that horse high, and he's still riding high on that horse of ego. But man, when he fought Rocky, and in the second movie, everybody thought he was a bum and telling him to go kill himself. He didn't know how to handle the bad press. He didn't know how to handle the criticism. And as his wife is like, why can't you just ignore it? You know? Well, he had something to prove. He couldn't stand the fact that he said, or that people said, that the fight was fixed. And so he fought Rocky in the second one, and then he lost fair and square. Rocky showed that he was hungrier, that he had that edge, that eye of the tiger. And then in the third one, when he's just basically, he's a former heavyweight champion, and he knows that Rocky's too young to stop fighting, to retire. He knows that Rocky can win, but he needs that edge back. He lost something when Mickey died. So him coming in to help him was a great character moment for Apollo, because Apollo realized, my time is over, and that but I can still help in a way that people can appreciate. And then he tried his Rocky Balboa moment in the fourth one, where he wanted that last fight. However, there was nothing, or where Rocky had something in the basement, so to speak, Apollo didn't. Apollo needed to satisfy his ego in a way. Also, during the 80s, it was a much different time, because the Soviet Union was still around, and East versus West was a big thing. We didn't want the commies showing us up, you know? He didn't want them making the U.S. look bad. Well, in this case, he made the U.S. look weak, but he also made the Soviet Union look bloodthirsty when he fought the Russian, and the Russian totally took him to town and killed him. But when it comes to Carl Weathers' Apollo Creed, 2 and 3 is definitely his best, because they allow the most character growth for Apollo. Also, I do believe it is said that if Sylvester Stallone could go back and do it again, he would actually make it so Apollo Creed didn't die. He lived, but was damaged permanently. But getting back to the movie itself, Rocky IV, the snow sequences, the winter sequences, does provide a Christmas atmosphere, but it's not really a Christmas atmosphere, because a lot of people, when you think snow, you think Christmas. It's wintertime, Christmas time. In Siberia, it is less Christmassy and more, you're going to freeze to death if you don't freaking get inside right now. you know, um, it was because Polly was listening to Christmas Don't Be Late, which was the reminder that Christmas is still coming and that the fight takes place on Christmas. I believe that the movie does have a Christmas element, but unfortunately, Rocky IV is not a Christmas movie. You have an element of Christmas in it, yes. However, it does not fit the same formula that I used with measuring Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, where it has Christmas themes. You have a mention of Santa somewhere. You got merriment and Christmas decorations and all of that. Yes, sure. Also, the story is centered around Christmas, where this story, Rocky IV, takes place like maybe the beginning of December, working up to Christmas. So yes, it's around Christmas time, but the story isn't modeled around Christmas. Christmas is not a central part of the story, where in Die Hard it is, and in Lethal Weapon it is. In Rocky IV, you have the Santa, sure. You have the it takes place on Christmas bit, sure. But you also have the Christmas music, sure. However, that's 3 out of like 6. So it's maybe half a Christmas movie, partly a Christmas movie. It has Christmas aspects that you can make or that you can watch during Christmas time, sure. It's definitely one you can watch during Christmas time and be a little bit reminded of Christmas. But all of the Rocky movies have that small little bit of Christmas in them. I mean, you see in the second movie and the third movie when they have their kid, where or it's the third movie in which you see Paulie dressed up as Santa for Christmas, helping out or his nephew with a new bike, I think it was. But definitely in ways of measuring this as a Christmas movie, it just falls short. It doesn't have that Christmas all around feel, you know? How would I compare Dolph Lundgren's Ivan Drago from Rocky IV and Creed II with his other roles such as Universal Soldier, Masters of the Universe, aka He-Man, Punisher 89, Red Scorpion, etc.? Dolph Lundgren as the Russian in Rocky IV is different than his, or is much different than his portrayal as Ivan Drago in Creed II. In Creed II, they did Drago dirty. After he lost, his wife left him. His wife left him. Russia turned their back on him. The Soviet Union no longer existed. He was a Soviet. He was a Russian soldier. A lot of pride there. And they explained to him that having his wife there and whatnot, Drago was broken after he lost to Rocky. What else was there for him? You know, he only really had his son to help him relive the glory days. As for Dolph and his other roles, I absolutely loved him in Universal Soldier, where he, in some deep down sense, remembers his previous life when he was alive. And I loved him as He-Man as well. He is an 80s and 90s star. But I also like Dolph as a person too. I mean, the man is a freaking genius. He's a martial artist. A lot of people, when they saw him fight Jet Li in the Expendables, a lot of people are like, Jet Li would have kicked his ass. It's like, no, Jet Li would have gotten his ass kicked. There's a difference, man. Now, Jet Li is quick. Do not get me wrong. But if Dolph Lundgren ever got his hands on Jet Li in a real freaking fight, if they were fighting for real, Dolph Lundgren would kick his ass. He's a martial artist. He's a genius. He's also strong. So, yeah, Dolph Lundgren was not a person that you just screwed with, you know? I liked him in Showdown in Little Tokyo as well. I also liked him in I Come in Peace. He was a great action actor. And I think that he did a great job in this movie as well as the Russian, where the Russian was a freaking steroid fiend, but he also fighting against Rocky is like, he's not human. He's like, or he is like a piece of iron, where at the same time, Rocky's trainer Duke is telling him, you see, he's not a machine, he's a man. It was actually quite a nice parallel. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Dolph. I never saw Red Scorpion or the 89 Punisher movie. I looked for it, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, also, I do like Dolph Lundgren as a actor, as a person. He's pretty good. Now, I mean, he dates young. I mean, nothing wrong with that if two people love each other and they're both consenting adults. But other than that, I mean, I don't really have much thought on that too. Or it's just an observation. He dates young. But getting back to the movie to discuss it a little further, to flesh this out. One of the things that I always found a little bit less than realistic was the punching strength of the Russian, even when he was getting juiced up with the steroids. In the first fight between between Drago and Apollo and Drago, he had a PSI punch of 1,850 pounds per square inch. That's basically pure brain damage. As soon as you get hit, your brain would be mush. If you had 2,450 pounds per square inch hitting a person because they juiced him up to where his punching strength was up to 2,450. 2,450 pounds per square inch, a person would indeed be like Rocky in the 5th movie, having permanent brain damage. So, yeah, that's the only thing that I disagree with in this movie, where they're juicing him up to that point. It's like, holy crap, man. Which Talia Shire role is best? Connie Corleone from the Godfather series or Adrian Balboa? Apples to orange? Well, no, actually, they're not apples to oranges. Connie allowed herself to be abused in the first movie. I do remember that. I recently saw the Godfather movies this year. And in the Godfather, she was very timid in both films. However, I think that she was very good in the Rocky series or both characters, I mean, they sort of mirror each other, where Talia Shire in this one, or in the Rocky movies, learns to stand up for herself, learns to be more, or very supportive, but also the realistic one. She's basically telling us, how much can you take? You've seen him. You know what you're up against. You can't win. She is Rocky's everything, and she's willing to tell him what he doesn't want to hear but needs to hear. But then she also remembers that she should also support her husband as well. Where in or is Connie Corleone or Corleone, she does also take that journey of becoming more or less timid and more willing to be in the family business. She doesn't want to hear too much about it, but she's also willing to get dirty if it needs to. I really wish that they would have fleshed her character out a little bit more in the Godfather series, like Put a Gun in Her Hand, where she would have actually killed somebody if it came down to it. I thought that was, or it would have been the best way to show that her character is willing to throw down. However, they didn't want her to, I guess. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Talia Shire. She's a great actress. Great actress. Loved her in the movies. But yeah, now we're past the 30-minute mark, so I'm not going to draw this out anymore or any further unless anybody's got any more questions. But yeah, going forward, Stallone Cut is definitely not a Christmas movie because they take out the Christmas element. Where Rocky Balboa, or where Rocky 4 rather, is a movie with Christmas elements. It's not a Christmas movie. You can watch it during Christmas. You can be reminded of Christmas, sure. However, it doesn't have that atmosphere of Christmas in it. You have that one little song of Christmas Don't Be Late. You have the robot dressed up like Santa, sure. You have the fight on December 25th. But that's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie was Rocky basically saying fuck you to the boxing commission to fight this man that killed his best friend. Now, he was willing to kill the Russian, but he was also willing to die fighting the Russian as well. That's the main point of the movie, where it is a fight movie that has a little bit of Christmas element sprinkled in. So Rocky 4 is not a Christmas movie. It has the small bit of Christmas element in it, but that's not enough to call it a Christmas movie. So, I mean, people may disagree, people may not disagree, but I actually went through the analytical aspect of it to show, yes, there's an argument for, there's an argument against, and the argument against it being a Christmas movie is greater than the argument before, or than the argument for it being a Christmas movie. So, in my analytical opinion, Rocky 4 is not a Christmas movie. The theatrical edition is not a Christmas movie. The Stallone Cut is not a Christmas movie. Is way less of a Christmas movie now the theatrical cut is more of a Christmas style movie than the Stallone Cut, because the Stallone Cut erases the Christmas element completely, where the theatrical edition still maintains the Christmas element, but it is not a Christmas movie. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So thank you to everybody who joined in. Neozoic, Vanya, Darth Zathra, and anybody else who was in the chat. I do appreciate your viewing. Next week, we'll wrap up the Christmas theme streams, and I will be giving you all the new themes for next month, which I do believe, let me check really quick. The 2nd of January, holy crap, is going to be the January theme streams, but I will let you know which ones are what the theme is next week. So next week, I am going to be doing is First Blood, a Christmas movie. So make sure y'all tune in for that. Y'all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Stay tuned for later tonight. I will be on the Barroom Podcast with Society Reviews and crew, and we will be talking about some Hollywood insanity. And I will also be modding Odin's chat for OMB reviews for his Tuesday stream. So yeah, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Y'all have a wonderful day, and always remember, stay humble.